baby, baby.
Well, baby, 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 look at you with your sunglasses. Good to see you.
It's summertime in New York.
That's it, right? And we're living for it. Hi, everybody. I am Wendy Stuart, and
I am Tym Moss. Hi.
And many of you know that already. And thank you for being such loyal fans and tuning in every week. You're watching If These Walls Could Talk. Tim and I are summer people. So like we're thriving right now. We're all about hair, good summer hair, light clothing. Tim loves light clothing.
Yes, I
or
do.
No clothing. Oh,
better yet.
Even better yet. So, Tim, it is really great to have you back from the wilds of Indiana.
Nice to be back. Yes.
You were very, very much missed. And
thank you.
What an incredible! I have to share this with you guys. That last, what was it? Monday night, I had the opportunity. It's interesting. I had an incredible guest on here who was a writer, a producer, an actor, somebody from advertising. And she writes plays, incredible plays that get produced, award-winning plays. And she had gotten in touch with me and said, I'm doing a reading for my play called The Furies. And I would love for you to be in the play, the reading of it. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I got the script. It's very much like Mad Max meets Game of Thrones. And that's all I'll say. Well, I happened to check to see who else was in the scene with me. And it was fantastic. It was Penny Arcade. And another amazing performer, Max, and the three of us play these. Oh, we are angry women. We're supposed to be like either the three witches from Macbeth or the chorus line from a Greek tragedy. But no matter how you look, we're supposed to be angry because you know what? We're set in the future when women are ruling the earth. So that's as much as I say. But it was so much fun, and you know how it is, Tim, when you do a reading and we had invited audience getting the feedback and all of that. So I was very grateful to have that opportunity. And this Saturday night, before I even get to my shtick, I want everyone to know that Chauncey Dandridge, our amazing producer, he does this event every year. It's called Dance Parade. It starts at 12 o'clock. You can check it out at danceparade.org. And dance performances, what could be better without culminating in a big party in it's Tompkins Square Park, right, Tim?
Yeah, Tompkins Square Park, I think from 3 to 7.
From 3 to 7.
Dance Parade. If it's Dance Parade, that means summer's here. That means that's
it. Tym Moss will be dancing in the streets. And for those of you, if you're fueled up by Dance Parade, I will be performing with the Imperial Court at Industry Bar. We're doing an evening of Broadway show tunes. No, I'm not singing. I'm lip syncing. Okay. I'm being kind to your ears, but it should be fun. And of course, like everything that the Imperial Court does, it's all for a good cause. So hopefully we'll get to see you all there. Tim, and now that you're back, my God, you probably slammed with so many. We're coming into Pride, my God.
Yeah. I'm coming in and I'm playing catch up because basically, I don't know if people know I was out in Indiana with my family. My father had passed away, 95 years old. So, and he passed the day after his 95th birthday, and got to talk to all of his children, all of his grandchildren, and all of his great grandchildren, and then passed the next day. So what a better way to go out. So
totally agreed. And on my last two shows, I talked about it too, because the picture that you sent with them gathered around the birthday cake was like amazing,
Yeah. So it's just been an insane past couple of weeks for me, completely out of the ordinary. Yeah, but I'm jumping back into things this Sunday the 21st. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I am doing what is one of my favorite roles in one of my favorite scripts, because it was written for me or with me in mind, and it's called Reunion. Ooh. And we're doing it at 1 o'clock at 650 Fifth Avenue. It's at 52nd Street downstairs in the atrium. So
very cool.
Anybody's free, stop by on a lovely Sunday afternoon and watch.
Can you just tell us in abbreviated a little bit what this reunion is about?
Yes. Well, the Reunion is one short play in a series. There's going to be, I think, four different plays, but it's basically about two brothers that are reunited. the day before their father's funeral. Oh my God, I never thought about how synchronistic that is, actually.
This is life imitating art.
And yeah, as it goes along, you find out that my character, being gay, got thrown out of the house when he was young. So this is the first time these two brothers have talked in 35 years.
Amazing. You know what's interesting, Tim? That's why I asked you what it's about, because I'm finding how many people can tell that story. This is going to be a story that people, of course, can relate to. And this is a perfect segue for what I want to say. Okay. As you know, Tim and I are huge believers in the arts and what plays and film and TV and that kind of communication can do to affect people. It can affect their political views. It can affect their personal beliefs, but it is a really great connector of human beings.
Yep.
And that is how I want to preface our amazing guest today. And also, wait a sec, I wore these earrings. Yes. And Tim, before you say that, let me just show these earrings. It gives our audience a moment to guess something about our guest today.
But I also just want to say, Friday early evening, I have rehearsal. And then right after that, I'm going over to 235th Avenue, the rooftop.
Yes, he has been to parties there. Andy Troy does a lot of parties.
Yeah, well, Andy's got a show or a party this week, and I think it's called Decades of Dance.
It is,
and
yeah.
Every hour, like from I think 6 to 7, it'll be the 70s, and from 7 to 8, it'll be the 80s, and so on. I don't think I'm going to be able to get there until the 80s or 90s, but I'm going to pop by. So if anybody that wants can just go to 235th Avenue rooftop and dance with me.
Yep. And I have it written down, and my things to do are the gazillions of things. And a shout out to Andy Troy, very funny stand-up comedian and a really great person.
Yep, absolutely.
So I have on my ears, I have
the earrings.
They're right. And there's a reason I have these peacocks. I was at the Explorers Club one fabulous evening, and I started talking to this woman who had the most electric energy and was so filled with information. And I thought to myself, oh my God, I would love to have her on the show. She was at that point a newer member. She has a background as a series producer and writer at a documentary production company, Emmy Award-winning documentary production company called Pangolin Pictures. And now her current job I find very exciting because she told me her office is located in a trailer behind an aviary. So I'm going to give you a few more things about her. She's an executive video producer for the Wildlife Conservation Society. We're thrilled to have her here today. Please welcome Natalie Cash. Hello. Right from your trailer behind the aviary.
Exactly.
I know exactly when you told me that. I'm like, who tells you that, right? Who do you know that has locations, everything?
No, it is, right? And that's also how we got to meet, was like coming to the club.
Absolutely.
So proximity and location. Anyways, I just want to say hi, Tim. And
hi, Natalie. I'm so glad you're here.
So I'm so thrilled you guys are having me. And behind the scenes, hi, Chauncey.
So
wait, before I just want to say to Tim, like, sorry about the passing of your father. I was
thank you.
Yes. So tell me his name.
Leroy,
because we want to sing his name. We're going to sing our ancestors.
Oh my God, I totally agree with you. Yes, right. Thank you.
What a beautiful
for bringing
life.
that up. So thank you for everything that you're doing by virtue of what you do. You're saving wildlife. You're saving the wild places in the world.
Yes, I should say I work for the company that saves the wild places in the world, and I'm the science communicator to tell you how we do that,
right?
And why you care,
and you're the
how you can get involved,
right. And you know what? You're the instrument. Without that, listen, we all know about the Wildlife Conservation Society. We can watch nature programs and all of that, but here we have you, the communicator. You're the messenger girl.
Yes,
it's all on you today.
Yeah, so you need to like win over the hearts and minds, because science can be very dense, and who's going to read the white paper or go to the PLOS study? You want someone to communicate, like, well, what's the bottom line? And then on top of that, if it's a sad message, particularly, what can I do about it? You know,
Right.
like, how can I get involved? And so
Right.
that's
So-
that's where I've been behind the birds of prey at the Bronx Zoo for the past October will be 19 years. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's fabulous.
19 years behind the birds of prey. I'm sorry. I can't even, I'm choking on that. That is so amazing. But what you're doing, okay, Wildlife Conservation Society really is a household name for everybody. WCS is what many people know the Wildlife Conservation Society by. How do you think they are saving?
Yes. So WCS, like the older generation will know them as the New York Zoological Society, because that's how we were founded in 1895. And, you know, at that time, there were other zoological societies, like London had one, but WCS, or at that point, NYZS, was the very first in the world to have conservation as part of its mandate.
Okay.
So it was like, have a great zoological garden, which every great city needed. So if you wanted to be like one of the great European cities, you had to have an opera, you had to have a museum of art, you had to have a botanical garden, and you had to have a zoological garden.
And zoos were very different in those days.
But WCS opened, or the New York Zoological Society opened the Bronx Zoo in 1899. Actually, I'm going to do a little plug because the Bronx Zoo will be 125 years old next year. So it's a long party.
And
I love the Bronx.
Away from it. In the Bronx, Tim does a lot of work in the Bronx.
I love the Bronx Zoo.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Hey.
The Boogie Down Bronx.
Right. We're repping the Bronx. So
exactly. So that, you know, but now today we've grown, obviously. William Beebe was the founding curator of ornithology. He's the one who really pioneered our field explorations and field
and ornithology, for people that don't know, birds. Like birds. Here, I'll just keep referring to them. No, visual tools.
Exactly. Like we're science communicators.
So,
so now we're in more than 50 countries around the world.
Nice.
You know, all wildlife conservation projects working on conserving, you know, like the world's biodiversity, which, you know, we're you know, you could call it the sixth mass extinction. We're seeing the tremendous loss of biodiversity, which is going to underpin all life on Earth. Absolutely. All the ecosystem services, you know, food security, water safe. I mean, like everything that we need to survive as we currently do on this planet.
And for just a regular person, in your words, define what biodiversity is.
Yes. So biodiversity is going to be the incredible web of life, species, diversity of species of, and I'll say ecosystem services, which probably all should be impacted, but like rainfall, you know, climate regulation, everything. You know, we don't have food security without clean soil.
Absolutely.
We don't have, you know, stuff to harvest without the bees. You need a full complement of species interacting. And, you know, and especially in the Western world, people feel like they're separate from nature, but we're, you know, Homo sapiens, we're just right in there with everything.
Thank you for saying that. They do feel like they're separate, as opposed to places in the world where the cultures are developing or more traditional. They're connected to they're totally connected to the land.
And if you're looking at the last tracks of like large, intact, climate resilient places, they're still very vital for local communities, indigenous peoples.
Right.
You know, if you're looking at the Congo Basin,
we're talking
or
Amazon.
Exactly.
Right.
Those places are secured because indigenous people have stewarded them so well. Like even our like national park service, you look at Yellowstone, like that area was able to be protected because the indigenous had traversed and the footprint was so light on those areas.
And a very good point that the footprint that the people are making, it has to be light. But that, again, we're talking indigenous people. That is who they are. Yeah. That's part of their culture. Yeah. Then we come in.
Yeah. But hey, I'm going to have to give this a toss for New Yorkers. Because like when I was growing up, like, you know, it was like we had the 70-71 Keep America Beautiful campaign. And we had the single beautiful film, beautiful campaign. Got people to stop dumping like whole ashtrays out of the side of their cars. Get civic organizations involved. Remember cleaning the, you know, that 1 mile stretch that you could have preserved. Because before that, it was a total free for all.
Right.
But oh my God, did I just lose my point?
No, we were talking about getting people involved, which is really indigenous people are normally involved with it as part of their culture. But you're right. We were tossing things out of cars, emptying ashtrays, and like even bags of garbage.
Yes, it was right.
So what you're talking about is they raised awareness through those what did they call Make America Beautiful?
Keep America Beautiful campaign. That was the
Make America Beautiful.
But there was also that was the carrot, but there was also a stick. You could get fined. You know, like, so if you didn't have any kind of like governance and enforcement, then the people like, they may not.
Right, exactly. Now, are you from New York originally, or where are you from?
Oh my God, I am like the oil brat nomad. People are saying, are you military or no? So my dad,
I thought real military when
I know. Maybe my whole career is, you know, basically penance. No, but we worked. My father worked for Exxon, and so
Okay.
we moved probably every 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
And I was born in Baltimore. We went back and forth to Texas until I guess 83 was when like Exxon pulled. My dad was in marketing. He worked there for 33 years. And they pulled everything back into headquarters. So I ended up going my last 3 years of high school in Texas, and then like my first year of college at Texas A&M. Before I was like, oh wait, I don't want to be a veterinarian. I'm going to have to find another way other than this little fetal pig in my dorm refrigerator to save these animals.
Wait, hold on, I'm stopping you at the fetal pig and the dorm refrigerator. I too was going to be a veterinarian. It was when we got to the pithing of the frogs, and I had a job in a lab. I took them home and put them in the bathtub. I just couldn't kill them. And then I realized though, then I wasn't cut out for it. Well, neither were you.
No, it wasn't.
Little fetal pig.
So what did you go into then?
Mass communication, which is why I'm here yelling today, because I was like, well,
I
love animals, right? Like, I really love.
I
mean, most people do, because we have biophilia. If you look at like what we name our cars after, what we name our sports teams after, what we name our cereals after, what you put on your children's bed or give to a child. It's a little stuffed animal. We love animals, but I was just like, chopping them up is not going to be my way to help them. I just all of a sudden, this is how my brain works. It circled back to me. We were talking about like these large tracts of protected and intact lands was to throw out to New York City, because when I was watching those America is the beautiful, Keep America Beautiful,
Beautiful,
cities were thought of as like the dirty, belting, think of like the Lorax, and it's like, no, the horrible city. But cities, especially as more of Earth's population gets urbanized, this is my little shout out to New York City. Is that cities are going to be what get us through. You get to cities, you have more people, women get more rights, they have more control. You see the reproductive rate gets by. Exactly. You're exposed to more ideas.
And we have green spaces. Green spaces, big green spaces.
But our footprint is smaller. And you just get more progressive ideas as more, you're not in your little bubble. You know, you're not just sitting there talking to people who think and look exactly like you. You were, just like we need, diversity in nature, we need diversity in our human cultures as
well. Cities are a good place to get that diversity, and you can fuel the fire.
And you see, human rights go up, civil rights go up, and education rates go up, and reproduction rates go down.
Because one thing.
Whoa, that was just. I could make a million T-shirts out of the things that she's saying. We should be selling them on here today, raising money, for a really good wildlife cause. Well, there's so many of them. My Lord. So, you started out working with Pangolin Pictures.
I actually started
I love that name. I know who they are, and I love Pangolin. We love pangolins.
Yes, like the world's
They're
endangered,
most trafficked animal.
I'm not sure what a pangolin is. What is that?
Oh my goodness! It looks like a little scaly anteater. It's like there's like 6 different species of them. Some of them have prehensile tails that they can hang onto the trees with. There's some of them are giant, but they're like a delicacy in parts of Southeast Asia, and they use the scales for medicinal purposes. So and they're nocturnal. Like most people don't see them. It's like, so what is this animal?
But with poaching, they are the most trafficked animal. And what Natalie's talking about, using them for medicinal purposes, as you know, in Asia, but also in the Middle East, they pay. We have a thing with the amount of money that people will pay for a rarity of an animal that they're going to use for medicinal purposes or to eat. To have a bunch of people for dinner and to eat. So this is a big problem. And so, I actually, before Pangolin, I was working at the New Orleans Film Commission out of college. And it was like, at that point, I thought I want to do narrative film. And I was like, I either have New York or LA. LA had the weather, but the people felt like they came out of these, glossy magazines. New York. And I was like, oh, this is hardcore, right? These are people like me. But you look like
people just came out
of an LA movie star.
No, but these people came out of novels. I'm like, this is where the story is.
This story you're a storyteller.
Yes.
The stories absolutely
are here. I was like, oh my God, I could be a Scorsese, because you just literally drop a camera on the street. Like you could literally tip it over and there's going to be a scene. There's death.
Tim knows this well.
What kind of films were you interested in at that time?
At that time, I just wanted a good story, because people are like, oh, what genre are you drawn to? I'm like, all of them. All of them. I feel like Duke Ellington. There's only two kinds. There's only 2 kinds of films. That's what we used to say about music. There's only 2 kinds of music. There's only 2 kinds of films. Good films, and bad films.
You just
And
wanted
I
to
don't
make
care
your
what
film.
genre it is, or
Right.
if the film I didn't have the money for film school, so I got here. I had a suitcase and an answering machine.
Love it. And I love. Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah,
Natalie, you
these
don't
are
look
not
that,
highlights.
excuse me, you don't look that old. I had an answering service. I had an answering service because they didn't have answering machines. When the answering machines got rid of my and you know, to this day, I'm still not good at playing back those machines. They're challenging. I liked an answering service.
Yes, I still saved some messages. Like my
You
sister,
did?
yeah, from 1999. My sister told me she was going to the hospital in labor. I'm like, oh, that's a keeper.
Oh yeah, that's a family history.
Yeah,
You're right.
yeah.
That was a good thing to save. So you came here with your suitcase, your answering machine.
Yep.
And what were you hoping to accomplish?
So
here?
I wanted to like just make films. I
Just
wanted to be
make
Spike Lee, basically, but a girl. And and so I was working at the Blue Note Jazz Club because I couldn't afford jazz clubs, but that was a way to still see
Brilliant.
I moved
That's
here from
great.
New Orleans.
Great survival
And
job.
yeah, so I was like, I will sell keychains, listen to like, you know, Elvin Jones and Oscar Peterson, and then go to film school during the day. And I didn't have money for like a proper film school, so I went to New York Film Academy, which at that point offered like a 6-week basic course.
I know New
and
York
it-
Film Academy. And
Exactly.
yeah, the proper film school. I mean, NYU is amazing. We know that. It
Right.
is a fortune from undergrad. And then if you go on and get your MFA in film, which you just
Which
got
I
your-
just
yeah, you
did,
just
yes.
did. We'll talk about that later.
Yep.
But good for you
Yeah.
because you were doing it in the baby steps that worked for you.
Exactly. And that was like a Votech school. It was like, you know what, that first week, you know, you have 6 weeks, you're getting your camera that day. So it was like hands-on,
Wow.
like auto shop.
It's something
Right.
amazing.
Right.
It was like, literally, you get 5 shots. That's it. 5 shots. You need to convey a mood or an emotion. No music, no dialogue, nothing but the image. Now we could go Goodfellas, and that first shot we could come through Pangea, go see Steve in the office there, check on the bar. You know, you can take your time with it, but you only got 5 shots. And it was
Right,
like,
that's it.
What is the visual language? What are you putting in the shot? Why?
What are you saying?
And how is it advancing
Yeah.
the story? And can you do 3x structure in 5 shots?
Right.
And at the end of it, have some impact.
And how did you do it? How did you do with your 5 shots?
Let me think. Oh my God, I'm so old. Where was I doing? I did. I remember I was doing I did a story of a miscarriage, and it started. There was shots. It was on the floor. There was all these like congratulations on the pregnancy, the new baby, everything. And then I think from there was tissues all balled up, and you know, so it's
Wow.
like,
So
whoa,
it was like-
that's a tough one.
yeah, and so you're
That
trying to
is.
travel from like this super exciting. You're expecting to see a baby in the crib, but instead it's a woman that's like
Right.
curled up in fetal position. You realize
Oh my goodness.
so.
That's brilliant. So
It
right out of the
really is
gate, you knew
brilliant, and it's like, my God, this was your first shot out of the bag.
Well, no, I had done like 1 or 2 courses as part of mass communications.
Right.
Like my highlight of my young life was doing a promo for all the schools in New Orleans, because I left Texas A&M, went to Xavier University in Louisiana, and we had every university in New Orleans has like a public invite, Spring Fest, Spring Fling,
They have
with tons of booze, and like, well, that's just New Orleans. And I got a promo commercial for that to air during the Arsenio Hall show, which
How
anyone remembers,
my
like that was
God,
like a
that was-
hot show.
that is hot placement.
Yes,
How
yes.
did you do that?
But they had like the cable access spots for local spots, and so like
And
everyone in
she
New Orleans
did
got
it.
to see that. So I had
Nice.
done a little bit of film here and there. Back then, you didn't have to specify. So mass communication was radio, film, print, television.
Got it, right. It
everything.
was
so
everything.
I got to dabble. I didn't have to specify.
And you got your feet wet. But
Exactly.
this film, your first film that you made, it is a very heavy subject.
yeah,
What?
was like emotion. Like you wanted,
Yeah.
like, and like you'll see most film students, it's like death. You know, like what's it's either going to be love or it's going to be death. And like I think a mentor even said, like, either you know your great stories are
Right.
either biblical or Shakespearean. Everything else has been told.
There's nothing else besides biblical or Shakespearean. Oh my God.
Like, oh, are they going to die or are they going to fall in love?
So it's interesting. Oh, God. Or both.
Or both, exactly.
They'll fall in love and they'll die. That's what happened.
Exactly.
Romeo and Juliet. That's exactly what happened. So there you
Exactly.
go. You hit the nail
Well,
on the head.
I might be jumping ahead here,
No,
but
you're fine.
when did your love and your passion for animals start? Did that start in childhood, and then you fused the two together? You brought the filmmaking with.
I think that the love of animals probably was in utero. I think I just I don't remember a time
Same.
just not ever just
Same.
being like crazy about
Yeah.
animals. Like they always call me like naturally Natalie, like little like natural ways, like saving the worms and like, whoa, don't kill that. Like we can always open a window.
Brought home every bird that was on its last leg.
I've begged everyone I know
connect
not to
with
kill spiders.
I don't kill them to this day. They live their spider life.
Yes,
as they should.
Yes, I told my sister, she's like, there's a spider. I'm like, don't kill it.
Yeah.
I'm like, it is saving you from the mosquitoes in Houston.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And she can put it in a tissue. I do this in my house in Pennsylvania. I put the creature insect in a tissue and I walk it outside. Okay, that's nuts, but that's me.
Now,
because understand why I do that, Natalie, right?
Because one thing I've noticed, for decades, children naturally love animals.
Yes.
I don't. It's very human, and it kind of bridges human to animal. It kind of reminds us that we are part of the animal kingdom.
Yes,
exactly.
And children, just like children don't know the difference between race. They don't know,
Right.
they're another species. You think of how many kids, because I'm sure all of them like that wanted to be the Dr. Doolittle, just wanted to be the bridge of like, how do you speak to animals? And then these are generally the people who are also into traveling, learning other languages, curious into other cultures.
Curious explorers.
Exactly. But also that empathetic, like, to be able to
connect
with something that can't speak in a voice.
Right.
It is interesting because I have a picture of me in Ethiopia in the Simeon Mountains with a lot of baboons. They look like punk rockers, and interestingly enough, they camouflage with the grasses that are around. The grasses that grow look exactly like nature is so weird.
Wow.
And I go to her page, and she's got the same picture, and there's not a lot of people up there. So these gelatas just think I don't know what they think. They could care less.
They probably think you're cute little animals too.
So you can literally, Tim, a foot away from them. They will copulate, they will fight, they will eat. They just go on about their life. That was one of the most extra. I'm like, I can't believe she's been there too, because not a lot of people.
Yeah, not a people. You say like gelada, they're like, they may know what a pangolin is 10 times before they know what a gelada is.
They're such unique creatures.
They look like a lion. Like they have these giant. The males have these giant manes. They're also called bleeding heart baboons. They have this little patch of skin that goes bright red when it's breeding season, and like, they have these fangs that are this long, but they're vegetarian.
Right.
So, like,
and they won't like you could go there and sit with them right now, and you would they just do everything that they want to do around you.
Yeah, and they live in these family groups of like 700 animals. They're the only other primate besides ourselves that like use complex facial expressions while they're vocalizing. Like when you're sitting with them, it sounds like you're hearing speech being born.
I thought that I was. I'm like, oh my God, I have to translate this. I actually that's it. You hit on that, the facial movements.
Yes.
I'm like, holy moly, they're so similar. Oh, they're talking.
Yes.
What are they saying?
Yes, because it's not like you'll see a primate going, oh, and so they're using it, but these are like, it's very
nuanced.
Like
it's nuanced.
So it's like,
wow,
I don't know what language that is, but they only occur now in Ethiopia in the highlands where
Simeon Mountains,
But another great place to see them is at the Bronx Zoo.
Yes,
I was just gonna say now at the Bronx Zoo, because it is such an amazing zoo,
it's
so incredible. And the thing that I like is that the care that is given to all of the animals. But do you have like a favorite exhibit? Because I mean, it would be hard to narrow it down.
It's very hard. Okay, so if I was going to say my favorite exhibit, it would be the Congo gorilla forest.
Oh yeah,
same,
stunning, stunning. That opened in 1999.
I remember when it opened. I went the first year.
It is beautiful, and just like, and of course they use film. Like the screen goes up after you get an intro. The curtains
and they're right there. Oh, it's so fab.
It's stunning, and it's got like all these like okapi. I mean, like animals you would.
The okapis are like, those are they're like a
zebra and a giraffe.
It's one of God's mistakes. I'm like, oh, thank you. Who is held accountable? But isn't that the beauty of nature?
Beautiful.
The beauty of nature. The gorillas, Tim. You've seen the gorilla exhibit there, right?
Yeah.
So I have been in the wild in Cameroon with the gorillas, the lowland gorillas in the wild. But I have to tell you, what is so fantastic about the Wildlife Conservation Society and the Bronx Zoo is someone that knows nothing can go there and observe this and their behavior. I'm sorry, it's real, behavior.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they're messed up because they're in a zoo. And this is an important point. Children will learn.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We need right now money to fight the war on conservation and keeping animals going. This is a wonderful way, or a zoo like that is such a great way to turn people onto it.
To the natural world. And,
and
that
world,
exhibit, when it opened, I mean, it won all kinds of awards, but it was the very first in the world to charge a separate admission. It was $3. I think it's still $3. And that money,
worth
separate from their
penny.
zoo admission, just goes to save those animals and those escapes in the wild. And so it was like you could see through your visit, not only you learning and you're having this great experience and your kids are learning, but you're actually having an act of conservation just by walking through the door.
Yes, and contributing.
You know, so many people are like, well, I can. You know the cost of going to see gorillas in the wild. We'll talk about the mountain gorillas, you know, Bawindi Park. And it's great if you have the money for the permits to stay at the lodges. What they do with the money is wonderful. It's keeping those gorillas there. But the other side of the coin is an average person will never, ever have the money to do that. And who are any of us to say, oh, you don't deserve that experience? By what they've done at the Bronx Zoo, they are creating that experience. There's going to be kids that leave there that go on and they're going to study animal groups of their choice. They're going to make a real difference in the world. So this girl is 100% pro zoo, with great zoos like the San Diego Wild Animal Park, the Bronx Zoo, all of those.
And zoos together as a collective, the accredited zoos are like super powerful group. Like when we were working, there was like a time in like 10 years ago when even all of our WCS is known for its long-term field sites as far as like the field conservation, and all of them were getting hit by ivory poachers. And we're like, wait, what's going on? Our scientists were like sounding the alarm, and it's like, well, what can we do to help as communicators in the public affairs department? Like what we really need is a strong ivory ban bill here on the books in the United States. We were the second largest consumer of ivory, and it's like we have no way to go talk to China, the largest consumer, if our own house isn't in order.
Thank you very much for saying that.
Yeah, and so we did this campaign called 96 Elephants. That was the number at the time. 35,000 elephants were being killed every year, poached every year for their ivory in Africa, and that worked out to about 96 a day. So our entire organization geared up, to have like a legislative lobbying effort to get.
You see, it's political, it's everything.
Exactly. But all the zoos came together, because think about that. In every major city, there's a zoo.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Now you have every zoo director, he or she is like writing a letter to their senator, to their representative.
That's powerful.
It's
right, Tim.
powerful.
I mean, that at the end of the day is
now, because you have blended your love for filmmaking with your love for animals, and you're bringing up the ivory, which is the elephants. I would like to. We've got a clip from An Elephant's Tale, the matriarch, and I would like to take a quick look at that. And I would love to hear much more about this film, An Elephant's Tale, the matriarch.
Yes. Here we go.
We are not so different, you and I. Our worlds exist side by side, mirror images of the other, separated only by a thin veil of unawareness. Like you, I came into this world heralded by a loving family. A childhood followed, filled with noise and play and mud. Lots of mud. Our extended families would gather at special times throughout the year. Joyful times with plenty to eat and drink. In times of scarcity, we would push on under the knowing eyes of watchful mothers. Like you, we mourn our dead and we cherish our young. We have rich language and long memories. We recognize ourselves and can distinguish the past, present, and future. And we are all too aware of what is happening to so many of our kind. Of your kind, there are those who do us harm. But there are also our protectors. The dangers are many, but so are we. Together, We will fight for our right to exist.
Hmm.
I am the largest of all who walk this earth. I am the architect of this landscape. I am a mother. I am a sister. I am a daughter. I am the matriarch, and this is my tale.
Beautiful. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks.
I love this. Okay, what I love the most, you told this story through the words of the elephant,
Yeah.
and it's the ability, my God, to communicate that way, because so much, especially with nature films, is outside looking in with a narrator, and it's wonderful stuff. But you put yourself into the. How did you do that? How did you put yourself? How did you channel that elephant?
Just like
Natalie?
literally like sitting in the back of a pickup truck. We were like
Love it.
monitoring a herd in like Laikipia province in Kenya. And it was like, I don't know, it felt like I didn't really write it. It felt like it was just channeled through me.
I knew
And
it was
like,
channeled.
And, you know,
Yeah.
sometimes times when you're writing and you're stuck, but then there are other times where it feels like the hand is just like going for you, and it's like it's all just coming, and it feels like
Beautiful.
And it was just like, yeah, I was just like totally open to it, and just okay.
Because this occurred just kind of on spur of the moment, correct?
Yeah,
You-
yeah.
you
So we
came
were
up
there.
with this idea.
We knew we wanted to do a film because that year our gala was all about it was 2014, and we knew
Yeah.
we were honoring Hillary Clinton for her role as Secretary of State and everything she did for wildlife protection and biodiversity to secure global biodiversity. And I just, I love that idea of like a matriarch. She came there with her daughter Chelsea to accept the award. Chelsea was pregnant with
at the
her daughter
time,
at the
right? How
And
cool.
so, but like in Kenya, we didn't know, how that evening was going to play out. We definitely didn't know that Chelsea was pregnant. We knew she had been to one of our field sites. But
Amazing.
regardless of that, when you're looking at them, that's just how they're organized. They're matriarchal societies. The mothers, the aunties, they're all just kind of like deciding where everyone goes and where you're going to eat.
The aunties, the auntie elephant.
Yes,
but this is true.
Well-
They're complex. Their social is very, very complex and similar to ours.
It's so similar. And
Their entire society and the thinking and the relationships, because they have cousins, they have and they all grow up together, but yet they're still independent families. It's the consciousness of elephants is just amazing.
And Tim, it's like you just said, family. They take the little ones. When you see them in the wild, the little ones are being protected. They're in the middle of this herd because they're like a human. You protect the little children. It's beautiful.
Thank you. And I wanted to have that emotional punch, but still keep it in science.
Absolutely.
Like everything I said, there wasn't. It was just like, we mourn our dead. That's true. And you can see that. And you actually see that. We were lucky enough, to see. We didn't know anything that was going on. I ended up writing a blog post because we have no idea what the animal is thinking. But we knew, like, is this an animal that it knew in life? Was it just stopped because, it encountered the death of another? We would never know. And I wasn't going to speculate there. But you could see the fact that they will turn the bones, that they will see it, and they're mourning. And they will do processions, full processions by the.
Wow.
So things like when you can put them all together to like make a case for like what are the similarities that we have with these species
and why we need to save them
and why we need to save them. So a little bit that comes in the end, like they're the ecosystem engineers, and their seed droppings, they're going to help the trees grow and other more species proliferate. And and people will just resonate. And think back to the first time you saw Dumbo and
Dumbo. Oh, she hit a chord with that one.
Like a mother's love. And so I was like, okay, it's a
Absolutely.
matriarchal society. So if I have to pick an elephant to be the protagonist, it's the big mama.
Well, but on your part, on your insight, it should be an elephant because you're right. Dumbo, remember, your dad was a marketer, honey. You inherited so much of that. Really, if you want to reach people, right?
Yeah.
Who doesn't love an elephant? Who doesn't love a baby elephant? Everyone remembers Dumbo.
Yeah.
And then you have this family structure that is so similar. They weep.
Yep.
Elephants cry.
Yes, absolutely.
It is amazing. I guess what I want
Yeah.
to
And I
say,
know that sometimes when people will go for like the hardcore, because it was a poaching crisis. Like these
Right.
the images we were getting, these animals had their faces hacked off.
terrible. I've seen
Oh
them
my
with
God. Oh,
yeah, it's
babies
terrible.
wandering around starving
Looking
to
for the
death without
mother.
the family
I
structure.
don't know how you
And I was
do
like,
it.
how am I going to convey a poaching crisis and get people involved without like a bunch of gore? And so you'll
Right.
see like the animal that was being collared, that was actually in South Sudan, and then having it stand back up. So it's almost like I don't know, Wizard of Oz. So it's very
Yeah.
dark and black
Yeah.
and white. But
And
then when
then
it gets
boom,
up,
it comes
boom,
to
it's
life.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like I could, kill an animal, even though it's just actually just been darted. And then once the reversal is put in and it wakes up. So it's like,
And
so you
Well,
have
now-
that sense of hope.
Now, one thing I wanted to ask, as far as like sticking strictly with the elephants right now,
Yeah.
you've got poaching as a problem. You've got climate change as a problem.
Yes.
That all of these things. What can people do to contribute to maybe helping in some way? Any
Vote.
suggestions?
Vote.
vote.
Vote. I'm
You're
going to say
right.
there are many ways to vote. You can vote at the ballot box, but you also vote with your wallet
Yep.
every damn day. The
Uh-huh.
consumer choices, but at the same time, voting is going to be the mega structure
Yes.
because they cannot keep putting this on the individual consumer. It's not your recycling tote bags or
Right, exactly.
any more than just like a crying Indian was going to get those roads clean. You
Right.
needed a government infrastructure, you needed penalties,
Absolutely.
you needed enforcement. And so you have to vote for the politicians that value this. They're not going to be like, well, we're going to protect the 1% when they fly to Mars and the rest of y'all burn up. Like, no, you need to have politicians that have,
Right.
and we've worked across the aisle, even with the elephant crisis. There was a group of, I remember Sam Brownback, he was governor of Kansas at that point, or senator from Kansas at that point. And, they were interested in kind of stewarding the earth, like creation care.
Right.
And so we also worked with people who were seeing that ivory was being used to kind of fund wars, regional instability. And so people that were very much into regional security, national security, if you can meet people where they are, you can show them how biodiversity is in all of their interests.
So I'm going
Because
to
if you're just hitting them with the hard facts,
right.
people can turn away.
She's so right. But
Yeah.
here's the thing that is challenging, and I know you know this because we've spent time in Africa and we've heard people that are saving the parks. Mark Fowler from the Explorers
Exactly.
Club, he's our person that's been dealing with what's going on. Here's the thing, and I recently heard this: the new government in Botswana,
Mhm.
which was amazing for wildlife. He's not so pro wildlife.
Mm.
Okay. So we're dealing with, we had the veterinarian speak at the club from Wendy.
Oh, yes.
All right. And
Gladys.
she took Gladys, is amazing,
Phenomenal.
amazing speaker. And
Gladys is
for her, the
glad-
biggest challenge, she said, is getting the governments, right, on board, like reaching them. And I guess at the end of the day, you have to make it financially lucrative for them.
Which is a shame because
But it's the
that's-
reality.
But I also
Yeah,
want to say that's the case here in this
Yeah,
country. Like
absolutely.
this is like
Not
not.
just-
Yeah,
just-
because to me, sometimes it seems like either you're pro animal or you're pro money, and there's
Exactly.
like no in between.
Yes. And that's why it takes that's why you need to have like the larger systems. And
Right.
if you just have, a system that is like, we just want unfettered growth, we don't have a planet that will support that. We
Right.
just do
As
not.
we're finding out
right.
now,
We
I
just do
mean,
not.
food insecurity, refugees all over the world. As the desert countries get hotter and hotter, people will not be. You're going to have mass exoduses.
Oh, you have that here.
We have it.
Climate refugees here
We
in
do.
Louisiana, like
Where,
where I went to
where
school.
you? I was going to say,
Alaska,
you
where
do.
people will have
Yeah.
to be resettled. And again, the
Yeah.
resources are not equal. Like obviously New
agree.
York, I'm on the Lower East Side. There, the seawall's going up. But there are other
Right.
places that will be let go. And you look at the island nations that are
Yeah.
half underwater already,
Right.
and they have contributed. the
Look what's
very
happening
least.
in Indonesia, Jakarta.
Mhm. And
They're
Jakarta-
having to relocate
capital
Uh-huh.
city.
to 800 miles away because Jakarta is actually sinking. And
Yeah.
Natalie just brought up the seawall that they've been building downtown. From everything I've read, it ain't being built quick enough
Yeah.
because they are anticipating we could get really hit here
Again.
and again, right,
Yeah.
in hurricane season, that we have dragged our feet. how, it's an emergency. And I'm not trying to sound hysterical, but we are.
No. I mean, just
an
think
emergency.
about since Hurricane Sandy, like we had a heavy rainfall and people drowned in their basements in the Bronx.
Shit, that's exactly right.
Yeah,
right.
I had a friend that had to walk home, down the steps of the Chrysler Building, walk home to get her kid and left Rock City, walk across the Long Island Expressway to pick up her kid after 9/11. She's like, I will never do that again.
Right.
2 years later.
2 years later.
Power grid overtaxed. The whole Eastern Seaboard, the power goes out.
She's right.
August 2003. She's walking back down the stairs of the Chrysler Building.
Wow.
You look at the New York Times today, like the next 5 years are going to be hotter than ever. There's going to be places that can adapt and be resilient. There's going to be other places that don't. Right. And so you're like, what is going to cause that shift in people to care?
Right.
And it's not going to be like the eco doom and gloom like that. That may have people just like turn off or become, suicidal or just like,
they turn off the TV and they put something else on.
Oh yeah.
Your film was beautiful, taught from the point of view of the elephant. My God.
Right.
You can reach so many people. I want to see more programming. I see great nature documentaries. I know you do. They're amazing. But you know what? They're preaching to the converted.
Yes.
People like us, of course, we're going to love a lot of this stuff. But you really need to get inside people's heads, what she's saying, in a positive way and leave them with something. That film, you leave about that mama elephant.
But you have to have something for them to do. You really have to have something for them.
But again, you're like Wendy's saying, you're so on the right track because people need to be entertained.
Yes.
And they need to be taught. And one film, I can't think of the name of it, but the one about the octopus.
My octopus teacher. My octopus
teacher. God, Tim. I watched
things like that. Things like that are so make such an impact, and things like your film, with the matriarch, just are impactful. That how can we encourage that or get more of that out there? That's what I feel that we need, because that is direct communication with people about what's happening.
Yep. And that's where video comes in. That's kind of my whole role at WCS, where like watching a video, sharing a video, that is like down here on what we call like the engagement ladder or the engagement curve. It's a very easy thing to do because it's short. People like video content, and that's how we're consuming most of our information. And then from there, it's like, hey, would you share this video? Hey, would you sign this petition? Hey, would you, email your local, editor if we want to write an editorial, or would you do
because this film made you want to do that.
Exactly.
This
would you become a monthly donor?
Right.
Would you attend an event like we did Ivory Crushes in Times Square so that it became high visibility? You need stuff for people to do it and
to engage in. You have to be able to engage them on a level that they can comprehend, which is not a scientific level.
Yeah.
I mean, we have incredible speakers at the Explorers Club, which is great. And we have people from the public come to those lectures. Amazing stuff. But that's one group of people. How do you reach the people out there? And you guys are talking about voting. Let's face it, in the last, let us just say, presidency, how many environmental protections were rolled back? And, people were still going to vote for that person again when my God, things were destroyed. I couldn't believe it. It was like every day he was in office, there was another one rolled back. And some of the people I knew that supported him, I would say, they call themselves environmentalists, but you can't call yourself that if you're taking a political side that's destroying our environment.
Yeah. I mean, we could do a whole episode.
That's a whole other show. My God.
But people will vote against their interests all the time.
Thank you.
But if you look at when most of these laws are enacted, where you have like civil rights legislation passed, the Voting Rights Act, it's all at the same time. You're going to have, and I'm literally that first generation to grow up under the protections of the civil rights movement and the environmental movement. So you're going to have the Endangered Species Act, the Marine Sanctuaries Act, the Clean Air Act, the Endangered Species Act. All these are the first Earth Day, 2 years after I'm born. So all these things are coming together around the same time.
We're in a great time.
But it's like where people are realizing that, we have kind of like a shared interest in our humanity and our democracy, and you have that flowering.
And we need to save our Earth. We need to save what's happening. When I give tours at the club, one of the things I talk about, we have an exhibit called Then and Now. It's about a receding glacier, but that exhibit, it was from like 15 years ago. Yeah. Now, if we look at what's going on with our glaciers and everything else, but again, Natalie's point, and we're so on the same train with this, you don't want to give the gloom in June, because always share with people, well, this scientist is doing this and that scientist is doing that. And each one of us can be our own steward in this. You said it, whether it means a small contribution, whether it means engaging in some way. Our teachers in the classroom, my God, those are our best communicators. We want these kids, the ones that come to the Bronx Zoo, that you service, that's our tomorrow.
And I do use the positive. I mean, I do go harder hitting because I don't want to sugarcoat where we are.
Of course.
But that's like an entry level film to bring someone in. And then once they have a little bit more knowledge, because I don't want to pretend that, everything, I don't want to be the dog in the kitchen fire going, this is fine. This is not okay. You think of like our young generation, right? Like Greta Thunberg. And, she literally sees all the adults around her. She's reading about, collapse of biodiversity, right? Seawater rising, right, and glaciers retreating, and 1 billion animals in Australia gone up in smoke.
Right.
And she looks around her and she's just like, none of these adults, they're the kitchen dog in the fire. Nobody's running down the street with their hair on fire. Like, what is going on? So what does this child do? She stops eating. She stops drinking.
Wow.
Like literally her panicked and alarmed parents are just like, what do we do? So they settle on a 1 day a week school strike. Like, please eat, please drink, just 1 day a week. But that grows into a movement.
It's a movement, right?
And they had like those two generations come together, like at Wildscreen, like Sir David Attenborough and Greta Thunberg were having a conversation, and he's like, "So, are you a optimist or a pessimist of our hopes?" And she's like, "I'm a realist." So
thank you. Yeah. Really, I think I fall into that, and I'm a very optimistic, and you are too. Yeah. But we still have to call what's going on out there.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
On what we know needs to change.
Exactly. And so that's why you have to have something for people to do. And I do see that in film changing. Like, there's great films out there. Path of the Panther that just came out. On last week on Hulu and Disney and National Geographic. Beautiful film.
Chimp Empire. Have you watched that?
Yeah. Like there's films that were like
Chimp Empire, right?
Yeah. And let you know how to get involved. And that's
because well, again, we just need to get back to our natural state,
right?
Which is being part of nature, because so much in this capitalist society has tried to divide and make people think that, oh, with money you can build this and you can do this, and nature's over here, that we have nothing to do with it. And they're trying to, in some cities, even, the way they're the civil engineering, they're trying to control nature. And nature cannot be controlled.
No, she can't. She will wake you up real quick to let you know she can't.
But the sooner we can wake up and respect Mother Earth and all of its creatures together, and that we are part of those creatures, I think the quicker we can hopefully do something. And I hope it's not too late.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think it is. And that's like our big message with WCS. Like, if we look at some like really promising trends, you see urbanization, you see, more and more of the world's population living in cities. You see population trends like China, like whoopsies. When they released their count, like they were off by like how many? Like, they're not 10 billion people. Like I'm sorry. There's not a billion people. The numbers will probably cap around 10 billion humans on Earth. So if we can get enough species and biodiversity, wildlife, wild places through this next bottleneck, it
is a bottleneck. But if we can just get it.
Our head of global conservation programs, Joe Walston, has a whole paper with Eric Sanderson and John Robinson, just like on how humanity, if we can like thread this needle.
He has the plan.
Exactly. How we can, because if you look at what we still have, conservation works. Like whales. Whales were, come on. Whales were the whaling industry. And then you look, it's actually Roger Payne. He records, he gets the recordings, I should say. He releases them. Songs of the Humpback Whale, it's really recorded actually by a Navy sonar engineer who thinks it's the Russians.
Wow.
And it's just like, no,
some whale songs.
Yeah,
it's not the Russians.
Yeah, he's supposed to be listening for submarines. And he's like, no, this is whales. Gives it to you. And like, this is still the #1 selling environmental album of all time. It like was pressed as a flexi disc in National Geographic magazine. And that, like, again, you're touching people's hearts and minds. You're
It's
like
an
giving
easy
gas,
communication.
you're giving
Right.
gas to
Right.
the.
I just always wonder what the whales are saying. Like, Mom, what's for dinner? Fish again. And
Exactly. Come to the Explorers Club. It's David Gruber, actually another explorer.
Oh yeah,
I got a whole project on like with AI using that to like kind of
decipher
all this data
It's
of,
really-
like, of whale recordings and track it with starting with sperm whales, because like that is the loudest sound.
and I'm
on
gonna
planet Earth is
Right.
the click of a sperm whale.
and because she brought it up, I'm putting in this plug here. On every Monday night, most Monday nights, go to our website, explorers.org. We have the most incredible lectures
Amazing.
at the Explorers Club
Nice.
with speakers that are giving their findings about new species, discoveries, stuff that's not even published for the public.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you can come and take a lecture. They have a lovely little cocktail hour from 6 to 7 where you can drink as much wine and eat as much cheese as you want. And then this amazing lecture. And you can come take my tour. But
Yeah,
my
Gladys was just there with her book. You can get like the books, you can get the books
Yeah.
signed.
Nice.
it's just a joy to be able, because we were saying about the gloom and doom, but right here, if you're in New York City, you can come on any given night and we have something incredible going on. Explorers.org.
Yes.
And explorersclub.org.
No, just explorers.org.
Thank you. I got it right the first time.
Exactly. Like that's how I
Well-
came to the club and came to meet Wendy, was through film. I
Right.
was working with Nancy Rosenthal. She founded
the New York Wild Festival,
Mhm.
which that is in March.
It's in March, but we have an event in June that's just about like films of the wildlife in New York called Wild in New York. We're scheduled for
when
June
is that?
22nd.
Oh, I didn't even know about
Yeah,
that.
but we're waiting also to hear about
World
the
Oceans
construction-
Week is coming
and
up
World
too.
Oceans Week.
Right.
There's always a plethora of
God.
amazing things, but yeah.
Well, another thing that I just want to mention real quick is the performance that you did, or the fundraiser that you had at Stonewall with our producer.
With Chauncey,
Chauncey.
exactly.
Tell us about that.
Yes. So I, as you know, I've got 20 years, 30 years in natural history production, but like narrative was the first love. And so during the pandemic, I was like, well, I could learn how to start this sourdough, or I could go get my MFA. And like, busy person, I decided to go to grad school. And there I met this amazing writer producer named Tennessee Martin, and she's also a Stevens alum. And Stevens is the second oldest all women's college in the country. I didn't know that
realize
before.
it. Wow.
Yep. And so she had written her second film. Her first one was Hangry, and we got to screen that as our grad cohort. And she wrote the second film, Lesbophilia. And
Lesbophilia.
Yes,
The title
yes.
alone is just.
it's amazing.
I was reading about it. And the fact that you and Chauncey had worked together.
Yes,
You know,
yes. And so Chauncey was there to like steward this whole project to life. We did our launch for a 30-day fundraiser, which we met. And so this film is going to be shot in 2 or 3 weeks. Yes, in June.
Amazing.
And it will be coming to a
Screen
with a short film. So I'm like, so a screen and a film festival near you.
Right, a
But
short
yes,
film festival near
yes,
you.
but yes, Lesbophilia was birthed. I would say it was conceived in LA, but it was born here in New York. Yes, so,
Well,
yes.
well, okay, but this is what's so interesting. So many of us have such a great range of who we are and what we do.
We
and
all contain multitudes.
Right, we're multitudes and we're layered, and the more that we can do in all the areas, you know, people often say to me, you do so many things. Like what is the one thing you do? No, there's no one thing.
No,
and
look at
with
this plate.
you, it's
There's-
like you telling an elephant story from the elephant's point of view, and then you're raising money for Lesbophilia, and it's your mind, Natalie. You're a communicator. You're a filmmaker. All right. You're a person that is going to get content and information out there. And our society really needs somebody like
That's
that.
how, like when we met at the club, it was like, pshang, communication.
On the other side of the room, and I was like, whoa, I haven't seen energy like that in a while.
But for one, I am very grateful for your contributions, for what you're doing in trying to get out, to open people's eyes and make people aware and make people interested in conservation.
Yes.
And,
No, my tips off to you guys for amplifying that.
We
message.
want to amplify. Yeah, we're about amplification here on this.
Now, you're also a member of New York Women in Film and Television.
Yes.
Can you talk about that for a moment?
Yes, and actually that was another bridge through Nancy. Nancy had introduced me to that organization first through the film festival, but then we started going to events that were virtual during the pandemic.
Yeah, they have a lot of I'm a member also. They have
Yes.
a lot of virtual events.
Oh, amazing organization. And yeah, I can't speak highly enough of what they do, how they, bring, it's kind of like the matriarch, like bringing these voices.
Yes.
We're half the population, but if you look at films in general, it is, definitely been mostly through the male gaze, even though,
absolutely,
which I found out through my MFA.
Yes.
Early Hollywood was written by women, all by women.
Oh, right.
Because it was very much looked down on. All those like silent film cards,
Yeah.
the early structure was women, but they were called flickers. Like the whole community, it was almost like a carny. Like they were carnies, with like fallen women and like flickers, like they're out there in the dirt in Hollywood, like Coachella in the desert. I don't know what they're doing. But then Joe Kennedy's money comes in, like, oh, there's money to be made here. Bye, ladies.
And all the boys got on that network at that time. We have a bunch of comments here that I have to put my glasses on. I want to read some of the comments. Amazing Lori Towers. Hi, lovely people. Happy to catch you live. Hello, Lori Towers. She's a wonderful PR person, and she's a good person to get the word out about what you're doing and what we all believe in.
Yes.
Susan Generaux, she comes on every week to designer, but a real animal person. Suze rescues, is it hedgehogs, Tim? Well, no, what is he? It's a little animal. It's not a hedgehog. They're little wildlife. Possums. She has chihuahuas, but a possum rescuer. Kennedy Ole.
Oh, yes. I'll actually see Kennedy in Kenya later this summer because he's an amazing filmmaker.
I recognize the name, of course, is African.
Yeah.
And hi, Kennedy. Thank you for tuning in.
Great talk and historic.
I have to give a shout out now to the Pride Lands Wildlife Film Festival. It's Kenya's very first.
Are you kidding?
Wildlife Film Festival.
I did read about that. Kenya. So this is an enigma to me. Kenya, which is known for its wildlife, they are first and finally having a film festival.
Yes.
How did this come about?
Nice.
So Fiona Tandy, who's like this amazing filmmaker, cinematographer, she was like, we have to have it here. And I remember at the Jackson Hole Wildlife Film Festival.
Oh, that's a great one.
Paula Kahumba, she like stood up and she was very honest with the commissioners, with the filmmakers there. She's like, some of you have made your entire careers coming to Kenya, coming to East Africa, filming these animals. She said, not a single one of these films has been seen in Kenya.
Yes.
Oh my.
Right. Yeah. Decades, good. Right.
Decades. And she's like, if you need people to protect it, and you see this happen in Rwanda, like,
absolutely,
during the genocide of a guard was killed, like the widow would come in and take that role. Like they have protected and stewarded their mountain gorillas. They are locally and they have great value. There's a big naming ceremony when there's babies born. So she's like, these are the films that we need Kenyans to see.
Absolutely.
But now it's like, these are the films we need Kenyans to make and like also be awarded for. And so Fiona's got an amazing festival that's out there.
I love that this is happening.
And Paula is also, Paula's one of this year's EC50.
Explorers 50 to watch.
Yes, I'm very proud.
When is this film festival in Kenya?
I'm sorry, July 26th to 29th. If you're there in Nairobi, please come.
Wow. Wow. Incredible. Thank you for sharing that.
How can people find out more about you and your work and your films?
So I guess the profile of me is on New York Women in Film and Television. I did another blog for PBS Nature on their blog. My films are on. We have my Instagram, but like for the work, I would say Vimeo is going to be the best. So Wildlife Conservation Society, we have our Vimeo page. We do have another page on YouTube. But you'll see everything from all around, because I should say, like, we're not just the Bronx Zoo. We're the Bronx Zoo, the Central Park Zoo, the Prospect Park Zoo, the Queen Zoo, and the New York Aquarium on Coney Island, plus field countries all over the world. Obviously, the need for video is so great that there's multimedia producers and communicators in some of the field programs that WCS have. So not all of that's my work. So I just don't want to take credit for someone else's great work. We have an amazing producer.
It's a compilation of everybody's work. We need it. We need strong voices to get that out there.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, the more messengers, the merrier.
I love that. The more messengers, the merrier.
Just a couple other. We had Lynn Scannell, who said greetings and good morning from Gloucester, and Chauncey, our wonderful producer, Chauncey Dandridge, is going to be leaving us soon, and Cameron Cole, who also just said, "Welcome back, Tim. Thank you." Is going to be taking his place soon in the next coming week. So I just wanted to be sure to include them in there.
Oh, absolutely. I can't even see them on my end. I am not technically inclined. I can't make this thing scroll with the comments. I rely on Tim to fill in my blanks.
But again, thank you so much for all you're doing in film. Thank you for all you're doing with the wildlife conservation. Thank you for your work with the Bronx Zoo. Just you're making such a positive influence on our planet. I just thank you
guys. I'm just really honored to be here.
Oh my God.
Also, thank you for letting me.
It's so great. And you are part of the newly formed conservation committee at the Explorers Club.
Yes, I'm co-chair.
Wonderful.
We you know what, we all know a lot of committed people, and as Tim and I always say, each one of us in our own way can really make a difference in the world. So thank you for everything you're doing, and thank you for everybody who tuned in today, who loves animals, who wants to know what's going on out there. Watch our show. We get it here first. What can I tell you?
We absolutely love and adore Natalie Cash. Thank you.
We do. Thank you, Natalie Cash.
You guys. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Wendy. And let's go dance on Saturday.
Yeah. Great.